afternoon. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Douglas Maniex, 11751 Beach Daily, Taylor, Michigan. I'm talking about our property, which we commonly refer to in jest as Catherine's Beach House. Because now when it rains, our backyard gets flooded out due to the water runoff from the parking lot behind our house. This is a story of the effect of unintended consequences when somebody allows someone to do something and how it affects the quality of my family's life. I spoke at this council meeting in October. The concerns I raised then pertain to a number of issues that have impacted the quality of my family's life due to the parking structure off of Brest Road. Number one, the destruction of my private property, mature trees, and 15 inches of topsoil removed, bulldozed embankment debris piled 6 feet high at the end of the clearing, pushed further onto my property. Number two, the neglect of the city to get back with me after I first reported the situation to a member of the city's building inspection department. Number three, complaint of the standing water impact, turning my property into a breeding ground, like I said before, to approximately 25 million mosquitoes based on the size of the standing water, in addition to the flooding in my backyard and the adjacent lot south of my property, which in turn creates a flooding into my crawl space. Now, how does this situation impact my family? Well, because of the mosquito infestation, I now have to contract Mosquito One each spring in order to get some partial relief. Foundation Systems of Michigan surveyed my crawl space issue and said the only way the water issue can be rectified, it's going to cost upward of $10,000. Another negative impact is the infestation of the moles in my yard. In the property, due to the acreage destroyed, because they stripped the topsoil off for the parking lot, my backyard, side yard, front yard looked like a series of varicose veins. Same is true with my neighbor on the north. A quick lesson on moles: soil preference. They like loose and damp soil. Their lifespan is 3 to 6 years. They reproduce 2 to 3 babies a year. They weigh 7.5 ounces. There can be 5 moles an acre, and the daily consumption is 7 to 100% of their body weight, and they can tunnel up to 15 feet in an hour. Now imagine that, okay? This infestation makes my property, especially in the back, almost impossible to mow, much less rake, or even walk steadily through the massive tunneling. Number four, in the October meeting, I shared a number of pictures of the area with the council and the area affected. I mentioned then that it was mentioned then that the city was aware of the fact in the area, and the city had reviewed it as well. I was told that the city was very concerned about my complaints, and the city would immediately address the situation. That was 16 weeks ago. As of today, I have not been contacted. My question to you all is, where do we stand on a resolution of this situation? That's fair enough, right? I was told by the Wayne County Department of Public Service Water Quality Division worker that the city of Taylor grants its own soil erosion sedimentation control permits. I was also told this permit must be issued before any earthwork can begin. My questions are: one, who in the city authorized this permit? If so, when? Number two, was the site ever inspected? If so, when? Number three, who was the person who signed off? If so, when? I estimate that I alone had lost approximately 120 cubic yards of topsoil removed from my property that I'd very much like to see these signs off.
Mr. Manning?
At one time, when I was back at my property taking pictures of the area, I was told by a young man.
Your time is up. If you'd like to submit your questions, we can address them if you'd like to set up a meeting or submit your questions, but your 3 minutes is up.
Well, I only have one question.
Your time is up, Mr. Maniex, so if you'd like, you can wait to ask your question at the end of the meeting. I'll be more than glad to try and answer it for you, but your 3 minutes is up.
Well, I'm looking for the city's response for the proposed resolution or remedy in writing of the above questions. Okay. And I'll give you a copy of this.
Okay.
All right?
I'm his wife, and I'll give him my 3 minutes.
Ma'am, you have to come up and speak.
My name is Catherine Maniex, 11751 Beach Daily, Taylor. And everything he says is true. If anybody wants to come out and chat, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
So, you want the rest of my minute?
It doesn't
All
work,
right,
ma'am,
so-
sir, it doesn't work that way. You have 3 minutes. If she'd like to come up and finish, that's fine.
What? You want to read it?
Where is it?
Right there.
I was also told that the city of Taylor had to issue a tree removal permit. I asked the council the same 3 questions as above. A large number of mature oak trees were removed from our property. I witnessed a crew of men cutting up trees and loading the logs onto a flatbed truck, which was then driven off the parking lot property. Could it be that this timber was sold? When I approached Joe and asked him about his actions, Joe's response was, "It's no big deal because they were just small trees." As we were talking, a baby fawn came out from the woods, stood there, and just looked at us. And I said to him, "You just destroyed that baby's habitat," and he could care less. The property owner threatened me that if I went to the city, he would clear the land next to my house and put in a driveway that would run cars and trucks through 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's good. So there you have it.
They don't care about the wildlife, who is ever doing all this destruction. And it's not fair to our wildlife that we do this to them over $1.
But if you want to see Lake Catherine, come on out because it's 250 feet by 100 feet.
Okay.
7 inches deep.
Yes, sir.
Through the chair to either Laura or the mayor, isn't this the area that we've just discussed that has been continually being ticketed, or?
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Yes, this is the same area. There have been, I think we've been out there since, I don't want to even quote numbers, but on numerous occasions over the last 18 months regarding this issue, among others.
So it's going through the courts right now, or?
There are violations. There have been violations, yes.
But nobody's come to me and told me that they've done any kind of inspection of any sort.
Mr. Chairman,
Mayor.
we typically do not report violations issued to other property owners to neighboring properties.
Well, when I was moved in over there, I came to...
Ma'am, you need to come to the podium. You still have some time.
I came to the city hall to ask them about the property next to me. And there was like 10 acres. And what I was told is, well, what do you want to build there? I said, nothing. I want to keep it the way that it is. So I was told I'd have to go to my neighbor and ask my neighbor if he wanted it. And if he did, and I did, then we could split it. If not, I could buy the whole thing. But because I wasn't building anything, they didn't like it. So why did this person that bought that property behind me didn't have to come to me and ask me if I wanted to buy it? I was never approached to ask, ever. And to me, that's totally unfair, that I would have to go to my neighbor, and this gentleman had to go to nobody, except you folks.
Mr. Chairman?
Mayor.
That property, I believe, was acquired by the city of Taylor in the early 80s. Likely was for sale before all of our time, and we had limited to no interest in that property all the way up to the point of sale.
Okay, so then why wasn't I given the opportunity to buy it?
Mr. Chairman, those are typically only handled that way on infill lots, much like the 2 agenda items earlier where they're non-buildable, where we'll offer them to adjoining neighbors for a reduced cost, not a commercial piece of property.
Well, he made it commercial because now he's threatening us that he's going to put a road through there, destroy more trees, more property, and add more marsh into my property, because it's all swamp there now.
Mr. Chairman.
So something has to be done, because it's like totally unfair. I pay my taxes just like everybody else.
Ma'am, there have been numerous violations issued on this property, numerous. Again, I don't know why you didn't buy it. I don't have those answers. There's probably a lot of people.
I couldn't.
Who told you you couldn't, ma'am?
Whoever I talked to at the city here.
Who was that?
I have no clue, it's been
Well, if you
years.
have no clue, I have no clue.
How many years ago was that?
It was a gentleman, that's all I know.
Through the chair.